And welcome everybody to the Daily Space Weather. We've got a coronal mass ejection watch and a solar flare warning in effect. Lots of stuff going on. A highly active region rising here in the northeast. That right there is Sunspot 2880, and it exhibits the kind of fields that are associated with major solar flares. We'll be keeping an eye on it, and when I say eye on, well, the pun is intentional. More information on that and much more coming on today's Daily Space Weather video. And once again, congratulations on everybody for realizing that our channel exists. Here's the Southern Hemisphere, Sunspot 2871, moving into a setting mode here. The source of the coronal mass ejection that's headed our way, expected to arrive on October 1st or late on the 30th. Here's a full disk view in composite. The last two images we showed were 304 angstroms ionized helium. This is ionized helium and ionized iron, 171 angstroms, along with the 304. Another active region rising in the southeast as well. So lots of activity here. The sun looks exactly like a regular ramping up sun. So here is the colorized magnetogram. Again, we've got an active region rising right here. It wasn't a sunspot yet when we did show prep. Again, the most interesting region is this area up here at this point, Sunspot 2880. It's got highly complex magnetic fields. Here's a full disk view in 171 angstroms from the Solar Dynamics Observatory, my personal favorite wavelength. So coronal mass ejection watch continues. Solar flare warning now in effect. I think it's more likely than not that we'll see an M-class flare in the coming days. The 10.7 centimeter radial flux now at 89. And we've got some missing data today, so you'll have to bear with that. Here's the 1 year chart of the radial flux. The black line is the radial flux. The red line is the sunspot number, and you can see this coming way up again, approaching the 100 line. By the way, we released a music video yesterday called Red Button. Did you check that out? You can find all of our playlists at youtube.com/smAsho/playlists. We also released a supplemental video about the Earth-directed CME that occurred early in the day yesterday. Here's a space weather enthusiast dashboard, and it looks like there is something showing up in the model here. You can see that spike in the plasma density there and the plasma velocity happening late in the day on September 30th or early on the 1st. And there is the Space Weather Enthusiast dashboard. You can see the NOAA forecast here. Again, geomagnetic unrest beginning late in the day tomorrow on September 20th and ending around midday universal time on October 1st. Take a brief look at global seismicity here. We like this 90-day bar graph from volcanodiscovery.com. And let's go to the USGS map. There was a 4.2 magnitude quake earlier this morning in New Mexico. Oh, and we just had a significant quake happen here while we were recording the show. So that's actually the largest quake of the past 24 hours, it certainly looks like, occurring here around the area south of the Kamchatka Peninsula, in between Kamchatka, Russia, and Japan. We'll get to that in a minute. Up until then, the largest quake was only in the 5s. That one looks like it is a 6+. By the way, there's that 4.2 that happened at 7:22 Universal Time in New Mexico. They're near Whites City, 54 kilometers north of that. There we go. That was a 6.5 magnitude deep quake east of the Kuriil Islands, happening while we recorded the show there. 8:37 Universal Time was the time of that. And that was at extreme depth also. Over 400 kilometers estimated depth for that quake. If that happened at the surface, that would be nearly an 8 magnitude quake, folks. That is a serious earthquake. A 6.5 And let's just check tsunami.gov and see if anything's been alerted. No current warning, advisory, watch, or threat. And there we're getting the latest data here. Based on all available data, there's no tsunami threat currently from that quake. So that's some good news for you. Let's talk about volcanoes. The lava from La Palma has reached the ocean. When volcanic lava meets the ocean, it creates a bunch of toxic gases as it evaporates a bunch of seawater and causes a bunch of radicals to be created. A lot of complex chemistry happening in the eastern Atlantic as a result of La Palma. Some spectacular imagery there on volcanodiscovery.com. It's the Volcanoes Today page, and let's check the list. So coastal areas have been evacuated, and they're getting some new real estate there in the Canary Islands. Suminosejima erupting as well in an explosive fashion, producing a 7,000-foot plume of volcanic ash over the Ryukyu Islands. Semeru exploding 13,000-foot ash plume over East Java, Indonesia. Samisa Pochnoi exploding 12,000-foot ash plume over the Aleutians. Fuego exploding 15,000-foot ash plume over Guatemala. And we've got Rincon de la Vieja, located in Costa Rica, having its alert level lowered to yellow. Revenador exploding 15,000-foot ash plume over the country of Ecuador, and Sabancaya exploding 24,000-foot ash plume, flight level 240 over Peru. Please don't pole vault the caldera, no matter how bad things get, no matter how stupid videos get on YouTube, no matter how much censorship occurs, no matter how stupid and idiotic people are, thinking that masks are effective at preventing viral transmission, no matter how ridiculous mandates are, requiring people to do things against their will, please don't pole vault the caldera. It could be unhealthful, and we prefer for our viewers to continue to watch our content. We're also on BitChute, were you aware? Yesterday's meteorology segment entitled, "Mankind Does Not Control the Climate." Only the most arrogant and ignorant fools claim otherwise. Received over 1,000 views yesterday on BitChute, and less than 100 probably on YouTube. Anyway, there's our YouTube promotion material. Shout out to our YouTube viewers. Tell your friends, foes, science noobs, and science pros about the channel. Press share, leave a comment, etc. Thanks to our patrons, please cancel your Patreon membership. We will stop posting there on October 1st. You're only 2 days from then. Cancel before October 1st and become members of the Smash team. Here's a tidbit of what we share at the Smash team. It's simply vastly superior to Patreon, and that's why we're there, doing all kinds of analysis, early warnings, and stuff even not associated with space. Smashomash.com/Smash team. You can find a link on the homepage at smashomash.com. You can find the link to the merch on that homepage as well. It says SMASHO merch. Welcome to the Neo Renaissance. Thanks to the Smash team. There are 2 tiers and a paid-up annual option, which entitles you to complimentary merch. Again, check it out from the homepage if you like. Right there's the link. Just click on that, log in, and become a member of the Smash team. Once again, welcome to the Neo Renaissance. Here's our merch page on Redbubble. The graphics are spectacular, and we invite you to Mansa, Make America Not Suck Again. Thanks to our new followers on Twitch. Great idea following us over there. We did a 12-hour stream last night showing the closest star. And let's get back to some data here. And we've got a bunch of missing data. Starting with the GOES magnetometer. So the last data we see there was at not even up until 4 o'clock this morning. Up until then, we were seeing higher lows and lower highs, a tighter range on the GOES magnetometers. Let's take a look at the ecliptic plane field plot from the top view. This data, 6 hours and 25 minutes old. And there's a bit of a tug-of-war going on. The sun can't decide if we're going to have a North Pole or South Pole oriented current sheet. Check it out, Earth not even having a potential field surface source line here. They would be shown in orange. I'd say Earth is in a South Pole current sheet, but without further data, I wouldn't want to conjecture. Here's a line of sight ecliptic plane field plot. Yeah, Earth is going to be in a South Pole current sheet, folks. There's a latest image showing the solar magnetogram as well. And once again, this sunspot 2880, is in charge of that. Here's the line of sight coronal hole plot. It shows the sun's B field in blue. And we see some more South Pole oriented coronal holes rotating into the southern hemisphere there. As the progression of cycle 25 takes its good old time. And we still are forecasting an uptick coming with respect to coronal holes. So expect to see lots of coronal holes in the next 60 days. There's been a coronal hole drought. But one thing we're not seeing is a sunspot drought, which is the characteristic of a, quote, grand solar minimum, end quote. Something we're not seeing sussed out in the data. 193 angstroms is great at showing coronal holes. That's why we've been showing it at this point in the video. Let's continue on. So here's your flare monitor, and you can see the flare probability reaching right up to 50% or so. It's going to be beyond that today, as Sunspot 2880, again, is very complex in its magnetic fields. And you can find this information, if you like, yourself on the Integrated Space Weather Analysis Center. There was a point there where we were up to like 8 sunspot groups, folks. And let's move on. There was a C-class flare that just recently occurred. Actually, that's several hours. That's like 6 hours ago. So missing data galore. I'll press refresh just so you see that there is no data showing up in a lot of different aspects here. There was a minor proton event yesterday associated with the coronal mass ejection and solar flare. Some relativistic particles did show up. They didn't cause any breakdowns in radio communications that we could tell. Next, the real-time solar wind. And you can see the data just stops right before 4 o'clock. Anyway, what we have been seeing is a subsiding of the coronal hole wind stream. I won't try to call out current data as we don't see it on any of the Lagrange point 1 instruments. Global geomagnetism. Looks like missing data there too, folks. That's only to 3 a.m. And I wouldn't expect major upticks in global geomagnetism. Looks like we've got 4 hours of data here of what's going on in the geospace. That's good. Nope, it's old data. Look at that. The time is 2 o'clock. And we're at like 9 o'clock universal time. So that's a bit of old data once again, folks. Anyway, we'll show you what was going on between 1 and 5 or so. Also, ground magnetic perturbations, it's all the same period. It's a 4-hour period between about 1 and 4. 12:20 to 4:20 or something like that. Anyway, in any case, what we've been seeing is a subsiding of the coronal hole wind stream. We can expect to see that simmer down. Here's a diagram of what's going on in the solar system. All the planets are on the same side of the sun right now. Mars feeling a little bit lonely, perhaps. And the Earth is moving into a Mars-Sun conjunction here, where the sun is between Earth and Mars. Let's advance this 1 week. And there's where things will be on New Moon, which occurs on October 6th. Smash Staff's birthday is October 6th. So make sure you send some birthday greetings to Smash Staff. Next, we've got a star chart for you here. And we've got the moon up there near the ecliptic. We're located in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. If you want to make yourself a star chart, head to in-the-sky.org. This is the all-sky chart. I face mine to the south. The blue line is the galactic plane. The yellow line is the ecliptic. Continuing on, today's cosmology segments integrated into the daily space weather video. Check our playlists for hundreds more cosmology segments. We did one yesterday. It was quite good. youtube.com/smashamash/playlists. So here's a clickbait article. Running on empty, astronomers solve 12 billion-year-old mystery of stalled galaxies. It's complete clickbait in that they didn't solve anything. All they discovered is that there is a shortage of gas in the core of this galaxy located at about 12 billion light-years distance. It's a gravitationally lensed massive galaxy, and it is known as, I have no idea what it's known as. Well, excuse me. It's MRG M1341 and MRG M2129. So those are the galaxies in this study here. And all the study is indicating is that there isn't a lot of gas. There isn't a lot of neutral gas in the core of the galaxy, which doesn't really solve anything. But in any case, perhaps you'd like to read the article. It's got a link to an actual paper. You can find it at SciTech Daily. The clickbait title is Running on Empty, Astronomers Solve 12 Billion-Year-Old Mystery of Stalled Galaxies. That's not true in any way. Let's talk Jupiter. The Great Red Spot's winds have sped up. And a common misconception about Jupiter's Great Red Spot is that it is a storm. It is not a storm. Certainly not in terms of what we would call a storm on planet Earth. So the Great Red Spot is actually a high pressure zone, an anticyclone, which in that hemisphere of Jupiter goes counterclockwise. On Earth, anticyclones rotate clockwise in the northern hemisphere, counterclockwise in the southern hemisphere. And it is a high pressure zone. It is a pressure zone on the atmosphere. It's an area where the atmosphere is actually getting lower toward the center of the spot. And it's the opposite of a storm. So on Earth, anticyclones are associated with clear days and high winds and high atmospheric pressure. On Jupiter, the Great Red Spot is the anticyclone. And it's not understood in terms of physics why this is happening, although it's been happening for over a decade. The Great Red Spot's speeds have increased by about 8% over the past about 15 years. If you want to read about that one, it's all over YouTube. Hubble showing winds are speeding up. And of course, the Great Red Spot's been observed for over 150 years on the largest planet in the solar system. If you want to read more about the MOST, head to smashamash.com/forum. There's a The Most thread on our cosmology forum. Today's random number is 471, which at the Neil Gorell Swift-Bat X-ray Observatory coincides with a neutral hydrogen galaxy known as the Seismicity galaxy. So here's a paper from 1996 about it, and I just brought this up. Feel free to pause the video if you want to read this little blurb. It's basically talking about neutral hydrogen in this galaxy and the attributes of its active galactic nucleus. So this is a type of Seyfert-2 galaxy, another type of active galactic nucleus. Here are the transients from it. This is from the Neil Gorell Swift-Bat X-ray Observatory. Once again, number 471 is the Seismicity galaxy, also known as ESO 97-13. And these are the hard X-rays from it. Let's take a look at it visually. And there is a false color X-ray image of this active galactic nucleus. You can see it's got quite an irregular shape to it. And when we look at it in different wavelengths, such as this optical, maybe that's not the best optical wavelength. Let's zoom in anyway. And you can see some partial survey happening there. How about, here's a better one, the DSS colored. And you can see quite an irregular shape to that galaxy there. The core looking very bright. And let's see what it looks like in infrared. Does it show up on the 2 mass? And indeed, that's a great image there on the 2 mass. The thermal output of the Seismicity galaxy the Seyfert 2 galaxy, today's, quote, random and, quote, featured object. And that's today's Cosmology segment. Again, it's integrated into the daily space weather video. Make sure you check out all of our playlists at youtube.com/smashamash/playlists. We don't see any charging hazards around planet Earth right now. The satellite environment is looking pretty safe. Here's a one-year chart of the relativistic electrons reported by solon.info/solar. Here's a 3-day chart measured by the GOES 16 and GOES 17. You can see missing data here once again. We see no data after 4 a.m. The GOES 16 and GOES 17 data not showing up there after 3:50 universal time. Here's the relativistic electron forecast model. NOAA forecasting an uptick. I would tend to agree with that, although it might take a day for that to actually happen. The coronal hole wind stream is still somewhat high speed and high temperature. Here's a diagram of Earth's Van Allen belts because we're showing you the total electron content forecast next. The total electron content between your handset and a GPS satellite. This will give us some insight into the organization of Earth's electron belt, at least the lower Van Allen belt, where most of the electrons are located. Things looking pretty normal there in the total electron content. Here's another diagram of the atmosphere. Keep in mind distances here are in kilometers. Excuse me. Next, we're showing the F ionosphere layer located at about 300 kilometers of altitude in vibrational frequency. And we're seeing some high-frequency anomalies here over much of the planet, especially places like the central Atlantic Ocean. Each color blob here represents 1 million vibrations per second, or 1 megahertz. Chiefly high-frequency anomalies here. There's the latest image from 9 o'clock universal time. Here's the anomaly map showing departure in megahertz from the 30-day median. We see some high-frequency anomalies around South Africa, as well as over South America. Some low-frequency anomalies over the Central Pacific, around places like Hawaii. But mostly high-frequency anomalies there shown in blue. Here's the latest image. That's 9 o'clock universal time. Most of the southern hemisphere is slightly anomalously high frequency in terms of the ionosphere. All right, and here come our bonus features in the form of the Lermonth, Australia ground-based solar observatory. Keep your eye on this sunspot, folks. And when I say ion, well, the pun is intentional. It's Sunspot 2880. It's got some complex fields, coronal mass ejection watch in effect, solar flare warning in effect. Let's continue on to look at the intensitygram. And check it out, Sunspot 2880 is ready to go. There's a new sunspot back here. And we don't see an umbra yet from this rising region. Anyway, there's the full disk view. Here is the colorized magnetogram. That is not a sunspot at the moment. But that magnetic complexity right there is capable of producing major flares, including indeed M and X class. We'll close things out with some more imagery here. This is 304 angstroms, the full disk view. Just spectacular. And thanks to all you stargazers for tuning in. Here's a close-up of Sunspot 2880 and 304 angstroms. You can see a whole bunch of filaments there to its north and east. You can see a little bit of flaring, that C-class flare associated with that. It'll show up even better in 94 angstroms. And this is where we'll end today's Daily Space Weather video. Once again, thanks for tuning in. Please press share. Please visit our links. Support the channel financially so we can keep these videos free and publicly visible. Thanks to the SMASH team and SMASH staff and to every one of you viewers. Last but not least, may that solar wind be at your back.